welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be talking about Lover by Taylor Swift. Kind of everything surrounding the album, all the songs on the album, the vibe of the album, Scooter Braun, all that fun stuff. So let's just get into it. Am I going to hold this the whole time? No. If you don't know, Taylor Swift, who? Like what? Where are you? Taylor Swift is a massive pop star nowadays. I mean, you really can't avoid her. She now has like 10 albums, 11 albums? Taylor Swift, Fearless, Speak Now, Red, 1989, Reputation, Lover, Folklore, Evermore, Midnights, Tortured Poets. She has 11 albums currently. That is crazy. She's huge. If you haven't heard of the Eras Tour, where have you been? And Lover was Taylor's 7th studio album, and it was her first album independently. So basically, before, I will get into this a bit later, but before Lover came out, she was actually a part of Big Machine Records, who owned all of her music and all of her masters, whereas now Lover was actually released under Republic Records. The vibe of the album, as you can see, was pastel, pinky coloured, dreamy vibe. I mean, you can see here on the middle, the vibe was a lot more hopeful. We were coming from Reputation, which, if you don't remember, was a very dark, black and white album that was very different to this album, and the music definitely reflects. The album had 18 tracks in total, and the sound was a mix of pop, synth pop, and soft ballads, which was very similar to 1989, but a little bit softer and less in your face as 1989, I would say. So Taylor before Lover. This album came after the Reputation album. Reputation was quite a dark, edgy, defensive album. It was a direct response to the Kim and Kanye feud, and her label being a snake, it very much played off of that. Her public image at the time was that she was calculated and manipulative, so she really leaned into that on the Reputation album, and the goal was to kind of reclaim the power, and that's what the whole Reputation album was. So that wasn't really a very good reflection of Taylor. She is much more this kind of pop, light-hearted, light colours girl, and Reputation was definitely a very different vibe for her, and I think she kind of wanted to return to that light-hearted pop girly that she was before. So she really needed a rebrand, which was what Lover was. She wanted to be loved again and not so much feared, as was the vibe on the Reputation album. So she did this whole 180-degree pivot to whatever Lover is that you consider. It's like butterflies and fairy tales.
I wish that I could bake a cake made out of rainbows and smiles, and we'd all eat it, be happy.
She doesn't even go here.
And fans kind of saw it as that this was old Taylor coming back, which is exactly as Taylor had planned. She was in this long-term relationship with Joe Alwyn at the time, which she actually was with him when she wrote Reputation, but it was much fresher when she wrote that album. So now that it's Lover, she is just fully in this relationship. She's so in love. It's, I think, one of her longest relationships that she'd had at the time, not even considering that it ended up being her longest relationship. R.I.P. And it was seen as Taylor's first happy love album. This was the first album that she had written where there was no kind of breakup involved. Obviously Reputation, she was in a relationship when she brought it out. I'm sure she did with a couple other albums, but with Reputation she did write about Calvin and a bit about Tom Hiddleston as well. Oh. In the Lover era, Taylor took quite a big leap out of her normal non-political sphere, I suppose you could say. Taylor was actually criticised back in 2016 when she didn't say a word about the 2016 election. I'm actually not 100% on board with calling celebrities out for not commenting on certain political things because she's not a politician. I think either way she's going to lose fans. We see a little bit of this being discussed in the Miss Americana documentary because I think it was her dad was literally like, Taylor, don't do it. Like, you don't know what the response is going to be. You're putting your reputation at risk. You might have fans that disagree with you. And Taylor did end up saying, well, I don't care. And this is my opinion and I need to say it because I need to show my support for what I believe in. And I love that, and I think when it is on their own back and it's their own decision, I think that's absolutely fine. But I don't think I really agree with pressuring celebrities that have absolutely no political background to be commenting on politics. I don't think it's fair. I don't know, some people might have a different opinion to me in that I might just be a bit naive in this situation, but that's my personal opinion. Like, I don't really get it. Like, we are fans of Taylor Swift because she makes good music. But anyway, in this era she did start talking a lot more about politics. That is seen in the music on the album, and it is seen in her actual real life too. The Miss Americana documentary came out around about the same time as Lover. It was just after, I believe, and that was a very big part of that documentary, was of her being very political and talking about her political views and condemning Trump. And I think it probably does make quite a big impact. Taylor didn't only talk about the election, but she also showed her support for equal rights. She brought out a song called You Need to Calm Down. That was part of this shift. It was written as a kind of ally anthem, but some did call it a PR move and that it was just her trying to relate to the progressive young fans. I do kind of get that. I think that's definitely what it was, but it might have kind of been written with good intentions as well. I don't think it really did anything negative. It was maybe a bit obvious of a PR move, but Taylor loves an obvious PR move, of course. So the main theme of this album, as I've said, is love. It was mostly inspired by Joe Alwyn, and the album is full of wedding imagery, loved up imagery, very much the kind of, she has a big fat crush on somebody and she wants to scream and shout about it because she's just so excited. But she does actually get quite vulnerable on this album as well, in songs like The Archer and Cornelia Street. She starts speaking a little bit about her insecurity, especially in The Archer, how she's kind of terrified of being unloved, and then in Cornelia Street, how she's scared of losing love, especially this love that she's got, which I think is really real, and I think that's a very good part of being in love because it does make you feel very vulnerable and you are giving so much of yourself to this feeling and to this person, and if they don't feel quite the same as you, then you're really putting your own emotions and your own well-being at risk. And I think that is definitely a very real part of love, and I think it's good that she spoke about that on this album. I think it kind of ties it all together. Like I said, Taylor was also being a lot more political, so when she brought out songs like The Man and You Need to Calm Down, it did kind of make sense. However, on an album like this, it was also said that it was quite out of place and again did look a bit like it was more of a PR move than anything else, which I do understand. It was kind of weird that she just had never said anything before and now she was just coming out with all of this, and I wonder what the actual shift was behind the scenes, what really made it change. Surely she did have political opinions before, why is she only coming out with them now? And You Need to Calm Down was criticised for being a little bit campy and over the top and in your face, but I kind of think that is the point of a song like that. I mean, I think it fit really well on the album when you come to think of it. It's bright, it's camp, it's over the top, it's sunshine, it's rainbows, and I love it. I think Lover is the perfect album for a song like You Need to Calm Down, and I think it's just a fun song. There's also kind of nostalgic songs on the album, so for example the song Daylight kind of calls back to Red a little bit in the line, I once believed love would be burning red but it's golden, which is a direct reference to the song Red from the album Red. Fans found the album a little bit disjointed. It was a bit all over the place. Songs like Me kind of sat awkwardly next to songs like The Archer. Okay, I'm gonna do a quick little track breakdown. There were 18 songs on this album, so bear with me. I Forgot That You Existed was a petty but playful shrug at past dramas, basically Kanye and Calvin Harris bit. Cruel Summer was about a secret but intense fling, probably about her relationship with Joe Alwyn in its early on stages, and it's passionate but quite anxious because it's kind of in that beginning stage where you're like, oh, I don't know what's going on, but it's new and it's exciting and I'm scared but I'm also so excited and rah! The third song on the album is Lover, which is the ultimate love song. I mean, it's literally wedding vows in song form. The Man is the next song, it's the fourth song on the album. It is a feminist commentary about how differently she would have been treated if she were male. That is before The Archer, which is a raw, vulnerable song that shows insecurity and self-reflection on her fears of being unloved, which I do actually think fits so perfectly on this album, even though it might sound silly, but it's like you need to show all sides of love. Like you need to show the fact that you are so in love, but you also need to show the anxious side of love and the scary bit of love as well, and I think that's shown very well in this song. After that is I Think He Knows, which is a flirty, playful infatuation showing what it's like to have the rush of having a huge crush. Miss Americana and the Heartbreak Prince, I didn't know what this was about. I did not know that it was a high school metaphor for political frustration and feeling like an outsider in America. I didn't listen to it that deep. I just thought, oh yeah, it's a cute little song. Paper Rings is a song about being so madly in love and that you love the person so much that you would literally marry them with paper rings, obviously being about Joe. And after that is Cornelia Street, which is a deeply emotional fear of losing love. Again, so important to have on this album because, like I say, it's so scary to be in love because you are so vulnerable. But it is one of the most heartfelt songs because if you think about it, like if someone wrote that song about me, she was basically saying like if we ever broke up, because the memories of us would just be too strong and I would be too upset mindset to even face it. And quite fitting after that is Death by a Thousand Cuts, which I didn't actually know the background to this song either. It is a heartbreak inspired by the Netflix movie Something Great. It's a metaphorical, poetic breakup song and one of my favourites. I would say probably my favourite song on the album. After that is London Boy. It's a cute, cheeky love letter to Jo and her time in London. After that is Soon You'll Get Better, which is a devastatingly personal song all about her mum's cancer battle. And oh my gosh. But here is where you will see this disjointed feeling, because tell me why the song after that is False God. Which is a sexy, mature love song that uses religious imagery for passion and devotion. Right after that song about her mother just doesn't quite. After that is You Need to Calm Down, which is an LGBTQ plus anthem, and it basically is a powerful clapback to the haters and the online trolls. Afterglow is a post-fight apology where she takes accountability in a relationship, and that is followed by Me featuring Brennan Urie, which is a bubblegum pop song, and it is kind of widely agreed that that is the weakest track on the album. Number 17 is It's Nice to Have a Friend, a soft, almost nursery rhyme-like song, which is about a childhood friendship blossoming into love. And the final song on the album is Daylight. It is a reflective closer that is moving past heartbreak, and I think it's perfect ending to the album. It literally sounds final, and I think it's a sweet, cute way to just finalise the album. So, behind the scenes drama. If you did not know, behind the scenes at the time was something that made Taylor Swift history. We all know about the re-records, we all know about Taylor's version. Well, this is why.
I didn't catch that. Could you try again?
Stop. This was the Scooter Braun Masters drama. What happened? So just 2 months before Lover dropped, on June 30th, 2019, Ithaca Holdings bought Big Machine Records. Big Machine Records owned all of Taylor's masters. Do you want to come and sit with me? Sorry, we have company. Someone was squawking at me. Taylor had actually tried to buy her masters directly from Big Machine, but they would not sell them to her outright. She was offered a dodgy deal from Scott Borchetta, saying that if she agreed to be signed with them for several more years, then she could earn her work back. Earn her own albums back that she wrote. She could earn them over time. So obviously she refused to do this, and she changed record labels. So then they decided they would sell all of Big Machine to Scooter Braun, including Taylor's masters. Taylor found this out at the same time as everyone else in the world. She claims that she wasn't given a fair chance to actually buy her own records back. So when she found out that they had sold the entire catalogue to Scooter without even telling her, she felt really betrayed and that she was kept out of the loop. And the reason that Taylor was so mad specifically at Scooter Braun was because of who he represented. He represented people like Kanye West and Justin Bieber, who she publicly didn't get along with. And obviously that worked out really well for Scooter Braun in the end. Taylor kind of knew whose side he would pick in certain things and how he probably felt towards her, so any decisions that he made would definitely not be in favour of her. The vibe of the Lover album. Bye. This did actually affect the Lover era as well, because the happy vibe that the Lover album was trying to portray was almost overshadowed by the fight that those two were having. The media obviously focused more on the Taylor versus Scooter fight than the actual album. However, Taylor ended up using this drama to position herself as a powerful artist that was fighting for ownership. And all of this meant that Lover was Taylor's first independent album. It was hers and she owned it. The new deal that she had made meant that she would actually own all of the work that she made, since it was released under Republic Records. And that is where I'm going to stop talking about the fight, because I am planning on making a video all about Scooter Braun and his life. So I won't touch on anything else because we're just focusing on the Lover era today anyway. The critical reception of Lover was actually quite mixed. The album debuted at #1. It actually sold 867,000 units in the first week, which is the biggest week for any album in 2019 at the time. And the singles that were brought out for the album were Me featuring Brennan Urie, which debuted at #2 but ended up dropping quite quickly. I wonder why. You Need to Calm Down peaked at #2, and it did quite good because of the LGBTQ narrative. It also came out during Pride Month, so that kind of helped. Lover peaked at #10, and a late entry, Cruel Summer, ended up coming out and was a #1. It obviously wasn't a #1 initially, but when it was released as a single, it did become a #1, and it was Lover's biggest hit, really. The critical reception was quite mixed. Some praised its warm romantic tone with some standout songwriting, but others felt it was overstuffed and inconsistent, which I do have to agree with. I love the album, but from a critical perspective, you have to look at it as there's 18 songs on this album and there's quite a few different types of song that are all a bit all over the place. I mean, we've kind of figured that out by now. Many felt that it tried to do too much at once. Love songs, political statements, pop anthems, and it all just kind of felt scattered because it was just a mishmash of all sorts. Lover was nominated for Best Pop Vocal Album at the 2020 Grammys, but it lost to Billie Eilish's When We Fall Asleep. It did not receive an Album of the Year nomination, which was considered a snub, especially after Reputation, the previous award ceremony that she would have been included in, also did not receive a nomination, I believe. You Need to Calm Down was nominated for Best Pop Solo Performance, but it lost to Truth Hurts by Lizzo. And Lover the Song was nominated for Song of the Year, but it lost to Billie Eilish's Bad Guy, so she actually did not come home with any Grammys that year. And then there was Loverfest. So this whole album does feel a little bit like didn't reach its full potential, and it maybe wasn't as successful as it could have been. Then comes Loverfest, which just kind of solidifies this half-baked situation. As for every Taylor album, as for most albums, it was supposed to come with a tour, and the tour was actually going to be called Loverfest, and it wasn't going to be so much of a tour, it was going to be a little bit more of a festival. So instead of doing a tour with 50 plus shows all across the world, it was going to have much bigger shows but much less shows. That doesn't make sense. It was going to have less shows, but they were going to be much bigger, and it was going to be more of a festival style. Now, since Loverfest actually never happened due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we don't have all the details of what was going to actually be at this, but from rumours and guesses that people have, we can kind of put together a bit of a picture of what to expect from Loverfest. So instead of it being a normal concert style thing, it was going to be a full day event from what we understand. And with it being called Fest, we can also gather that it would most likely be more of a festival style thing with probably more than one support act. So maybe throughout the day there would be more support. Obviously, I mean, it's Taylor Swift, so you'd probably have some big names in there as well. And as well as that, there would be maybe merch stands, carnival rides, stalls, games, who knows. And it would just be more of an experience. Maybe, I mean, I'm just trying to think, if it was Fest, you might have vendors and different things that different bits of entertainment. I think this would be amazing if Taylor Swift tried to do this now. At the scale that she is on now, Loverfest would be brilliant. It sounds like something that would be done on the scale of Taylor Swift now, not Taylor Swift in 2019 when she was still kind of gaining back public favour. I would say, just from researching it today and looking back on it with this hindsight, I suppose, I would say Lover is definitely not Taylor's biggest success. We all know that. I would say that's fact. When we see Taylor Swift how she is nowadays, she is absolutely huge now. I would say that Lover wasn't as much of a success as some of Taylor's other albums previously and obviously now, but I do want to say that it's personally one of my favourite albums. It has some of my favourite Taylor Swift songs, and it's an album that I really find doesn't get old. There's probably, for this album, if I was listening to it, I would skip one song. And it is Taylor's first owned album. I feel like it was never going to be perfect. She was figuring things out, and it was more than just her rebrand from Reputation. This was the beginning of her fight for artist rights, and even though it might not have gotten the love it deserved at the time, the Eras Tour gave it its moment, and especially Cruel Summer, and I think that's a really good way to look at the album, because I feel like even if Lover came out today, I think it would be a little bit more fine-tuned, and I think that it would be so much more successful, because I think it would have the scale that it needs to be appreciated properly. More people did hear Cruel Summer, and look at what happened. It was a hit, it was massive. So I do think that's quite a good representation of the whole Lover album. Maybe it was just ahead of its time. But that is it. That is the whole Lover breakdown. There were certain things I didn't want to go too much into because, again, like I say, I want to do that Scooter Braun video, so bear with me on that. I think that's going to be quite a big one. I'm very excited to start researching it because that is an interesting man, and I don't like him, so I'm interested to learn about what happened to him, why he is the way he is. But yeah, that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching it. I really appreciate it. This is my kind of part 2 to that albums video. So my Kesha video was like the first part of that. This is part 2. I have so many more to talk about. But yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I had so much fun making it. If you did enjoy it, maybe you could give it a little thumbs up. And if you want to see more like this, you could maybe subscribe to me. I don't know. Just a thought. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye!